Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alison, the online piano and the online violin tutor. So in today's video I have got 5 tips to getting back into the piano. So perhaps you've had a little bit of a hiatus in the piano, or perhaps you played as a child and you haven't played through your sort of early adult years and you're now kind of middle-aged, or maybe you're 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever it is, and you've had a bit of a break in piano playing for however long that has been, and you want to get back into playing the piano. I've got 5 tips that are going to help you get back into playing the piano, but not only that, I'm going to tell you exactly what it is that you can do. Okay, so tip number 1, the most obvious one, would be to dig out all of your old music. Start finding the music where you left off at. So find the last few pieces of music that you were working on with your teacher on your own, or whatever it was that you were doing just before you stopped playing the piano. And once you've found that music, say it's in a book for example, go back a few pieces. So I wouldn't start exactly at the place where you left off, because that's going to be silly, because that would have been at the height of your piano playing career at that point. And the point is that you've been so long from that, you obviously can't find a way to get back in. So you're not going to get straight back in at that point yet. So what I would do is familiarize yourself with the point where you literally left off, and then go back a little bit, go back a few steps and start to play the pieces that you fully accomplished. So maybe there were pieces that you kind of properly could play from start to finish without much hesitation, or maybe there were some pieces that you'd memorized. This goes for scales and arpeggios as well. You should always be doing those on any instrument regardless. So maybe go back to the last few scales and arpeggios that you were working on, whatever those were at the time. But once you've found a few pieces that you could actually play and ones that you can master, go back and play them, because they will be more ingrained into your muscle memory, so you'll have less of a hard time trying to work them out. And what you'll probably find is that even though you can't remember specifically what those pieces were like and how they went on the piano, what you'll find is that your muscle memory will kick in. So your neurons that you used back then, that were firing up from all the repetition that you did to play that piece when you were playing it over and over and over and over, they will take over, and you'll find that your fingers will probably just brush over the piano without you even thinking of it. A little bit kind of like magic in a way. I can still play pieces that I played when I was like 12 or 13 years old. I don't know how I can do it. I can just, you just can, because it was something that I played over and over and over and over at that age. So tip number 2, start practicing slowly and build up. So what I mean by that, not speed wise, I mean time wise. So maybe start practicing for about 20 minutes. I'd say 20 minutes is a fair amount of time. Anything less than that and you're not really going to be able to do anything of worthwhile use. So start with maybe 20 minutes of practice, and then you can build it up to 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, an hour, and so on as you get back into it. Tip number 3, warm up. And you can use scales, arpeggios, broken chords, chromatics, anything like that to warm up, because the piano is something that requires motor skills and neurons that are going along in your hand and going up, signaling your brain and telling you what it is that you need to do. You need to get back into that. You once had that, and even though the piano or playing an instrument is a little bit like riding a bike, you're never really gonna obviously forget how to do it. You will kind of forget the ins and outs, and your hands will just become lazy. They'll just become unflexible and just two useless things on the end of your wrist, so to speak. So what you need to do is get your hands back into the swing of things, and what you can do to accomplish that is to do scales and arpeggios, and what they will do is give you the flexibility and the dexterity in your hands needed to play those pieces of music. So it would be like an athlete going straight in to do a 100-meter run and they haven't even warmed up. So they're going to pull all their muscles, they're going to stretch everything out. And I'm sure we've all done it at one point or another. We've gone straight into doing exercise or playing a game, a tennis match or something like that. We haven't bothered to warm up just because we can't be bothered. What a waste of time. And then you really do feel it the next day. So it's exactly the same thing with the piano. So you're not necessarily going to feel any pain the next day in your hand, but you will just not have the flexibility, so you won't be able to reach an octave. Your brain will want you to play a sequence of notes in a particular order from what your eyes are seeing on the music. Your fingers are not going to be playing ball. Your fingers won't do that. So you can get the dexterity up by going back and warming up with scales and arpeggios. And trust me, your practice session will go along a lot more smoothly and there'll be a lot less frustration from your end. Tip number 4, build up your repertoire. So what I would say is don't go in with 5 pieces and go in there scattergunning around trying to play all and every piece that you've got to hand. I would pick maybe 1 to 2 pieces to play and add that alongside with a selection of scales and arpeggios and things. So maybe you might want to start with 1 piece, depending on how confident you feel. It might depend on how many lessons or how long are you playing before you had your gap. So maybe you only had 1 or 2 years worth of experience and then you had a massive gap. So depending on that and how you feel, start with between 1 and 2 pieces. Don't try and add in anymore because it will be too overwhelming and it will be too much too soon. And lastly, tip number 5, don't put pressure on yourself. Move on when you feel comfortable and don't hurry to the next stage. There is no hurry to get anywhere. There's no competition. You're not playing against anybody else. It's just you learning from home. And the thing about playing the piano, and in fact any instrument, is that it's mostly cumulative information. So you don't want to be moving on to the next stage until you've mastered the current stage that you're on. You can't really move on anyway because you'll need the skills from that current stage. But if you try and add everything too quickly, you'll just be sweeping a lot of the mistakes under the carpet. Your playing will be a bit haphazard, it will be very sloppy, and again you'll end up being in a vicious circle of frustration because everything will sound very, very bad. So there's no hurry to get anywhere. So yeah, it might take you a little bit of time to get back into the swing of things, but once you have accomplished that, then you're going to be off and away and you'll literally step straight back into where you were before. Once you feel comfortable, you can go back to those pieces that we talked about in point number 1, where you found at the exact point that you left off. So by this point now, you should be able to go into those and you'll have enough background information. A lot of it would have flooded back in. You'll have a little bit more finger and hand dexterity because you've been working through easier stuff, familiarizing yourself with the music, with the piano and all that kind of jazz. So now you will feel more confident playing those pieces that you literally left off at that you weren't able to do maybe a few months ago when you first started getting back into the piano. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you have found this video helpful, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and you can check out all the other videos that I have currently on my channel. So thank you for watching and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.